I am so sorry. I thought we were live. I've been talking and saying and everything, and I thought we were live. So let me go through our because it's got all of our disclaimers for our stuff on here for the other stuff. Let me. Well, I've been sitting there talking on just like y'all were on live, and for whatever reason, this thing had not gone live. I punched in live, but I wasn't. So I don't. I apologize, y'all. I feel like an idiot. But what I was going to tell you and what I was talking there, and let me just go over it. Beach Bum and T.S. Jackson, if you can send me to this email right here at the missing live stream at gmail.com. Send me your physical link address that YouTube gives you in the top of your YouTube page. I will make you a moderator on our next thing we're doing um, on our next me and Tony show. If you want to be, no pressure to be. We're just needing some good moderators over there. So sorry. I don't know what the heck happened on this. I thought I had it on. And also, I'd moved my antenna from the top of the RV over here down to the ground to try to get some better place so it won't buff. Hopefully, it will not buff. But I apologize. I here thought I was online the whole time and I wasn't. Uh, One thing we're going to talk about is too, we've got 20 subscribers over on our channel, Thomas and Tony Live. Would you sure appreciate it if you go over there and subscribe and watch us? Give us some watch time. We're going to talk about um, we're going to talk about no chai bug. If you want to be a moderator, we would love to have you. All I need you to do is send me, go to your page that YouTube gives you up there, and at the top, your link, copy that link and send it to this email, and we'd love to have you. Um, while if you could go over there and watch it, we're doing about UFOs tonight. We're going to talk about the UFOs, two UFOs that me and Tony saw. We were together when we saw them. He's got a different take on what he believes UFOs are. I'm going to talk from the government with the government, and everybody's saying about it. And I think it's going to be funny and it's entertaining, and we hope it will be anyway. Um, this thing may buff today. I hope it doesn't. We don't need that kind of stuff next time. We sure don't. But anyway, I went and I was looking up about Portland, Oregon, and their sex trafficking and their sex predators, mostly sex trafficking. And I got to looking and reading about their drugs. They legalize all drugs up there, not just marijuana. They legalize heroin, fentanyl, everything in small amounts. But what they do is, if the police catch you smoking fentanyl like they did this one kid out on the street, they write him a ticket. The ticket's $100 ticket. However, if he agrees to go to treatment, they tear the ticket up, and they think that's going to cause it to get easier not to buy drugs and all this other stuff. But it turns out that this is made drugs cheaper, and they've had overdoses like crazy, and they showed overdoses out there on the street, and it's not helpful. It's not something. Canada, I think, is fixing to go legalize drugs totally, and I don't I don't think so. I don't think you know um, it's gonna work. And even the guy, policeman, and everybody said it's not worth it. Don't do it. So anyway, let's hope this thing does not buff tonight anyway. Um, we're going to go to a little bit before 8 maybe, and we're going to hopefully it's going to be no buffing tonight. And then tonight I've got an awesome intro that I put together for our channel too. Tony has not even seen it, and it's going to be awesome. He says T&D, Thomas and Tony. It's sort of based on that. You have to stay and watch that at least. Here it is. This is talking about Portland, Oregon. Saturday, January the 11th is National Human Trafficking Awareness Day, and they come out and write and say it on the news. And I've got some video to show you. Topics to tackle: left in the don't want it to be left in the shadows. Portland's groups are trying to change that. Incredibly important. The issues are they really need to face head on for now, Junior League of Portland's president Gina Roman said. Portland is often a city with one of the highest rates of juvenile sex trafficking in the country. That is very, very sad. According to advocates to shed light on the problem locally, Junior League of Portland brought advocates and local organizations together to raise awareness, hopefully find solutions. Says here it really happens to girls and boys, the transgender youth next door. There really is. It's huge. These kids are born here, and these kids are raised here and sold here, and they purchased here by members of the community. Wow. It talks about a lot about this too, about the sexual slavery. And, since Portland, had all of those riots and everything, Walmart has closed every single Walmart in Portland. Every one of them are closed. And all of the Targets are closing. And there's a lot of other, I think Cracker Barrel's even closing there. Why? Because they're doing this, what they call crash mobbing, where they crash through the door or they go in the store and they run in there with mobs or 50 to 100 people and they just loot them and everything, and then they leave. And Target doesn't even press charges on them. So how are you going to prevent this thing if you're not going to press charges? That's what I'm saying. Portland is often cited as a city of the highest juvenile rate. That's what I said before, and this shows this sex trafficking. They're trying to at least create an awareness for this. Says here on this hotline that they did, they had 485 signals received from the hotline in 2021, with 177 signals received that were victims or survivors of human trafficking. So the rest of them were like people that suspected a human trafficking situation out there. Let me see if I can go ahead and pump us one. And I'm going to show you a girl that's missing. Start off with this video.
The family of a local woman and Sandy police are asking for your help tonight in finding her. Sandy police say that 21-year-old Briaja Darty lives in Portland and was using public transportation to visit her family in Sandy. She was last seen last Monday and has not been heard from since. Darty is about 5 feet 6 inches tall, weighs about 135 pounds. If you see her or know where she is, you're asked to call police.
Now that was 21 years old. She could go missing if she wanted to. Probably got sucked into the sex trade, kidnapped. They get them on dope. Just a whole lot of stuff that can happen.
All new at 10, Portland police say human trafficking crimes in the city have become more visible in recent months.
Fox 12's Bridget Chavez explains what that means after speaking with a sergeant from PPB's Human Trafficking Unit.
It's typically a crime we think happens in the shadows or in secret.
We definitely feel like it's becoming more visible, human trafficking type activities. You'll see street walking, prostitution related crimes, definitely along Northeast 82nd, along Northeast Sandy.
And while this area may be known for human trafficking, Portland Police Sergeant Christy Butcher says it's happening all over the city.
We get reports, Jansen Beach hotels, the motels along Northeast MLK Boulevard, Interstate. So there's really no areas that are left unimpacted.
Butcher says in the past few months, traffickers have been recruiting their victims more boldly, often in broad daylight and crowded areas. Butcher explains that traffickers are smooth talkers and the first interaction can feel normal or seem harmless.
It's really hard to decipher, like, hey, is this a person that's interested in, dating me? Or is this a person that wants to establish some sort of new relationship? Or is this someone wanting to cause me harm?
She says traffickers will often promise to take their victims on expensive trips or even offer those in vulnerable situations a place to stay. She says both are major red flags.
And they're very good at talking and selling these things. And then once they kind of get you hooked, so to speak, that's when they break it, like, hey, we don't have enough money to go on that trip we talked about. I need you to go out and work, which means sell your body.
Their goal is to isolate victims so they feel like they have no one to go to for help.
Trust your instincts. And if it seems too good to be true, ask a lot of questions, maybe get someone else involved. I'm a big proponent of not being in places alone.
If you suspect human trafficking, Butcher says the best thing to do is report it. And if you're a victim, get to a safe place and call police, or you can call the human trafficking hotline. And we've posted resources on our website at kptv.com. Just click on this story. Reporting live in Northwest Portland, Bridget Chavez, Fox 12 Oregon.
You think about that. What a lot of it to do with the runaways is the kids get on the street, and when they first run away, maybe their friends will let them stay at their house 1 or 2 days, or they sleep on somebody's couch 1 or 2 days. But that ain't gonna last long. I mean, people will let you stay at their house free for a while, but then they start looking at it. Well, what do? They just sleep on the couch. They don't do anything. They're not bringing into this household any money, help sharing the utilities, do blah, 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 and it won't, 9 times out of 10, that won't last long. And what happens is they get thrown back out on the street looking for a place to stay, and they run into somebody, like they said, smooth talkers. Oh yeah, I got a place you can stay, no problem at all. And then maybe they get some type of, they either get there and get raped, or they get there and they let them stay there a few days, and then they come back and say, now you owe us money for staying here. How are you going to pay that? No, you need to do this for us. And it's easy to get them into that loop that they get in there. Or just like that 21-year-old, who knows, that might have met somebody online and it just didn't go well. It didn't go well. So, I've seen myself in my police work that that it's not good. It's not good at all. Somebody said if we could share that, let me go over here and see if I can pull up that link that we had. I know I had it for the Tony and us. Come on, guys. Hold on a minute. Yeah, this I think this is the link that we used last time. I'm pretty sure it is for our page. Somebody could check that for me and just find out if that goes to our page. I'd appreciate it. But anyway, we're hoping that somebody gets a handle. They need somebody. My copy and paste is stuck. Ignore that. My copy and paste is stuck. Sigh. Okay. But anyway, if y'all would check that when and it works. Okay, great, BC. But they need somebody in Portland that, and not just somebody that is conservative enough to um, get into Portland and put some things they need. One is they need to do away with this legalization of drugs, the hard drugs. I don't care. They can leave marijuana in there. That's fine. They could actually, they need to also address the homelessness situation up there, and they need to address the runaway problem and the sex trafficking. And a lot of the sex trafficking, well, just about all prostitution is sex trafficking. Almost all of it is. You'll find a couple of people that are out there working on their own, but the problem is they work on their own is they will get caught up in the fact that there's pimps out here that are trying to protect their territory, and these people will come after these people that are working on their own, and it will result in possibly something real bad happening to them. Roy and Becky, glad to see y'all here. But it's just, the area is just really, really bad. I'm going to play you another tape here. This is about 4 minutes long. It's a little bit longer. It's called Brianna's Story. And I think it's well enough that that you need to see it.
Story is something that we think parents should know about, but a warning, it is not a subject meant for young children. We're talking about sex trafficking on the prowl right here in the Northwest. Tonight, the story of a Clark County teenager who was convinced she had found a boyfriend and freedom. In less than a week, she went from a star student to a stripper, and police say she was flirting with something much more dangerous.
The pictures of Brianna growing up tell the story of a girl supported by a loving family who excelled in school and sports. But what happened only a few weeks ago has left her parents shaken.
It was like a movie.
And Brianna frightened.
Living in the center and small community, I've never not felt safe, and I don't feel safe.
It was early December when a 20-something guy from Seattle named Nick and his friend started frequenting the local cafe where Brianna worked part-time.
They were really flirty and just really nice.
Just days after Brianna turned 18, Nick invited her up to Seattle, where she wanted to go to college. So she borrowed her dad's car, lied about where she was going, and headed north. And once she got there, she didn't want to come home.
Nick bought her expensive things, offered her a spare room, money for college.
It was kind of exhilarating, like, you know, finally kind of be out on my own, but have this like awesome guy who's wanting to take care of me.
And Nick helped her get a job. By her second night in Seattle, Brianna had gone from a star student to a stripper.
I was there for about 4 hours, I think, and I brought in, I think, like $350.
Money that Nick pocketed, along with her phone. She was being cut off from her now frantic family and tightly controlled.
As soon as she said he had 2 cell phones, I knew this guy was involved with something illegal.
Brianna trusted her friend Evan and called him from Seattle. She had to return her dad's car. Would he give her a ride back to Nick afterwards? Evan said yes, then did something that might have saved her life. He betrayed her trust. When Brianna got there, she would find her mom and his parents, who had miraculously tracked down former Washington Congresswoman Linda Smith.
I call it the go to hell look, that she really wanted all of us to go there.
Smith founded Shared Hope International, rescuing girls from the sex trade around the world. She had no doubt that Brianna was being lured down a path that would end with violence and prostitution. It was just too familiar.
I described the intimacy, the recruitment process. I described what they say, the language they use, the terms they use, the things they would omit.
I found it kind of annoying because I was like, I don't want to hear stories, but then I realized that all the stories were the same as mine.
Brianna stopped taking Nick's calls and feels foolish for being so naive. But sex trafficking isn't something that most families warn their kids about. Yet.
Educate our daughters about what this really is and how these girls get there.
Brianna is still afraid to be alone much, but grateful to be the one that got away.
I'm just happy I'm here, that I'm alive, that I'm back.
The family shared this story in the hope that public awareness will protect other girls. Because at this point, the police can't do much. The officer says no crime was committed. Brianna is 18 and was manipulated, but not forced to do anything.
Well, we'll hope this story gets the message out.
Yeah, see there, I mean, you can get, if they get involved in this type of sex trade, and they see this money coming in, $350 in 4 hours, a lot of people that might just start to get the ball rolling into that sexual type trade. And but that doesn't last long. I'm telling you, that type of pay does not last long at all. And they once they get looped into it and they think this is money here, and then they say they do it 4 or 5 times, 6 times, they'll get to where they're drinking and even if they're drinking Coca-Colas, and they'll create a tab for themselves basically, and maybe have to pay protection too. So I've seen a lot of them tell me the same thing. They want out, and a lot of times they can't get out. I got a bee or something flying around in here. I can hear him. Says understanding human trafficking. Um, says here throughout the world, human trafficking robbed children of their innocence, sexual exploitation, basically of women and men, subject to enslaved migrants and deplorable working conditions, through forced labor. They prey upon the weak, ignorant, and desperate, infect communities, and harm society and economics. To combat this transnational problem, it's to increase public awareness about human trafficking scope and must most clearly define what human trafficking is. Basically, human trafficking is illegal transport of human beings whose services, such as manual labor in mines, domestic servitude, and commercial sex acts within brothels, are sold for profit. Human trafficking victims engage in these acts through the use of force, and they may be recruited and sold in involuntary servitude. According to the National United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, every country in the world is affected by human trafficking, and says with some forms occurring more in certain parts of the globe than others. And we've talked about, and I'm not going to get into it much again, but I've talked about anytime you live down on the Gulf Coast, you live anywhere that tourists go to at all. It doesn't matter if it's Atlanta, Birmingham, Chattanooga, anywhere that tourists go, you're going to see foreign students working in the shops. You're going to see them everywhere, foreign students. They maybe don't speak good English. You can tell something's going on. And then when you do, you can almost be assured that they are using some type of place to get employment through. They'll have either they'll contract through an employment service, and most of the employment services, I'd say 50% of them may be legit, but there's a whole lot of them that are charging them to live in crowded conditions. They're taking so much of their pay home, up to $2 or $3 an hour, taking their passports. We had the U.S. State Department come down over a complaint from two girls that claimed that their passports were taken, and people came in the middle of the night and told them, you're going to move from Panama City to Gulf Shores. And the problem was, we had a couple of guys come up there to see if they could drive them home. And the minute they saw these guys, they shut up and didn't say anything anymore, because they were their handlers. They're Russians. They were Russian girls. So I have seen it personally, and it's not good. It's not good what they get involved in. Says here that sex trafficking, forced labor, and debt bondage, and a lot of that is like, uh, um, see if I can get down here. Debt bond. See, we know what sex trafficking is, including child sex trafficking. 98% of the sex trafficking is women and girls, and children are trafficked for sex 4 times more than adults. Women are more prominent roles offenders, prominent role as offenders in present day slavery and forms of crimes. Nearly 20% of human trafficking involves forced labor, and debt bondage is a form of human labor trafficking. Isn't as widely known, but it is mostly used as a method to initially enslave people. And what I said basically, and here's what it get at the bottom: forced child labor, child sex tourism, drug trafficking, and types of human trafficking that occur in many regions, both low income and high income. And what I said was a few minutes ago about these runaways is they get out here and they get to, maybe somebody tells them, oh, I got a place for you to stay. A lot of young people stay there, and maybe they go there and there's a lot of young people there. They maybe allow them to do drugs, or supply them with the drugs free. And then maybe 1, 2, 3 weeks down the road, they have somebody come to them and they say, oh, look, we don't mind you staying here. You stay here all you want to, but you still owe us, because we fed you, we clothed you, we gave you free drugs, free drinks. They get indebted to them. It's like the old thing about the coal miner. When the song says he owes my soul to the company store. Well, that's exactly what they did. The coal miners came to this. It is just about slavery. Then the old days, the coal miners would come. They would live in the coal miners' houses. They would charge at the store, and so pretty soon that the store would get their paychecks. A good portion of their paychecks would go to the store itself, go to the mining company. So the old song is, I owe my soul to the company store. That's the same thing with this sex trafficking here. Is the sex people get them in there, they have a debt. And a lot of the people that I'm talking about are from Jamaica and Russia and European countries. And what they will do is they will threaten them. They will tell them, you're going to do this and you're never going to go to the police, because one, the police in that country, they don't have to be nice to them. They can beat them, they can enslave them, they can sexually assault them. And if they say anything, they just hurt their family or threaten to kill their family. And so it becomes a situation. I know that we, as police officers, even uniform and out of uniform, when I was investigations, would talk to these people, and they would be absolutely scared to death of the police. They would be absolutely scared to death, and we tell them, hey, we're not going to hurt you. We're not going to do this or that. They didn't talk to the police. The police in that country were bad. And I'm not saying all of the police officers were, but corruption in some of the European countries and Russia or whatever in law enforcement, in Jamaica and all that stuff, it runs rampant. So because a lot of them are paid nothing, I'm not making excuses. I would never take a bribe. I've never done anything like that in law enforcement, and I don't condone it. I don't care how much you're paid. If you can't make it in the pay in law enforcement, get another job. But that's what these countries are doing. That's what they've done there. They've actually they get, they're crooked. A lot of them's crooked. Let me see here. It says, how does human trafficking affect victims and health? It says sexually transmitted diseases, HIV, gonorrhea, chlamydia, is it chlamydia? Other infections, diseases, tuberculosis, poor eyesight, infertility, cancer, heart disease, diabetes. How can human trafficking be detected? You can see that victims of human trafficking, labor trafficking, sex trafficking often exhibit similar behaviors and physical signs. For example, women and children in forced labor may work unusually long hours, have no proof of identification. They may have bruises and scratches on their arms and their face. They may express submissiveness or fear in social situations. They may live in cramped spaces, multiple other people, and that's what we talked about, maybe 15 or 16 people in an apartment. And I'll say this, if you ever ask them where they live or want to go to their house, they don't want you to see where they live. They don't want to be, they won't maybe will lie to you about where they're staying because they know that their traffickers would be punish them if they did. Business that bankroll human trafficking also shapes several characteristics or telltale signs, such as frequent outbound wire transfers, unusual payroll expenditures, similar business fronts, travel agencies, international matchmaking services, modeling, babysitting services, and we had that down at the coast where we had people that would work for these travel types, people that would get these workers in, and they would also take a portion of their money. Leasing or driving luxury vehicles, small business fronts, and one of the actual places that ran this, the whole business, their large amounts of cash, completing large transactions with only cash. And the one thing I wanted to tell you here is this particular place that eventually the FBI raided. It was a 8x10 little building that they used to use as a photo drop off booth, but that's what he made his business in. And he did wire transfers there also. And he got caught because he would send massive amount of transfers were $9,990. So in other words, he stayed below the $10,000 mark because, and I think it's changed now. Nowadays, I think it's anything over $600 you got to report. But if you from in those days, and I may be wrong on that, so don't you have to check it for yourself. But in those days, you had to if you transferred $10,000, you had to notify the IRS that you had a wire transfer, or if you deposited that much in your bank account, somebody comes in and deposits $10,000, they have to report it to the IRS. And I think it's a lot less now. I think is something that Biden's doing now. They're trying to keep up they're trying to keep up where all the cash is going. I know for a fact, and maybe y'all can understand this. I know somebody that withdrew $80,000 out of their bank account because they had it. That's what they had in their bank. They were going to do some stuff with it, buy some property or whatever. And the bank asked them, "What are you going to do with this?" And they told him, "Well, none of your business what I'm going to do with it. It's my money." Well, we need to know what you're going to do with it. And, we need to know what you're going to do with your money. In fact, it was a fairly young person in their 40s. They were called at home weeks later, and they asked, "Did you make up your mind what you're going to do with that money you withdraw it out of the bank. I'm sorry, if I withdraw my money out of the bank, I'm gonna tell them it is none of their business, and they can just live with it. I'm not gonna tell them it's. I'm not gonna tell them what I'm doing with taking my money out of the bank, no matter what it is. I don't have $80,000 in the bank, but if they're saying $2,000, I think RV Odd Couple said that he went to get $2,000 out of the bank, and they were the same way. What are you going to do with the money? It's none of these people's business what you're going to do. It's not, in my opinion, it's none of the federal government's business what I'm going to do with the money. As long as we live in a free country, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, they're questioning what you do with the money, and uh, they're being pretty restrictive too on how much money you can take out of your own bank account. So anyway, we're back over to what we were talking about. It says here, how do we end human trafficking? Well, I'd like to know myself. Said signs, red flags are of trafficking, calling the National Human Trafficking hotline. If you see something, say something. That's the old motto. If you see maybe young girls in the car, truck drivers, where they feel like they see like they're not, you can tell if somebody's afraid, if they're kind of being real skittish. You feel like they need to be checked out. It's not going to be it's not a harmful event if you call somebody. Volunteer, donate to anti-trafficking organizations. Stay informed, talk to about issues with family and friends, host an awareness in your community forum. Don't purchase goods or products produced by child or forced labor. That's like Nike, I think. I read somewhere that Nike or shoes like Nike, I think they're made overseas where they basically have kids in these factories over there making these shoes. Really kids. And don't quote me on that, but I know it is several high shoe thing. Somebody said Nike the other day. Use of skills to train and hire survivors that in transitioning their life from human trafficking. And I'm going to go check on that for Nike though, because I'd read somewhere that some of the factories that make the shoes there were kids in the factory making them. I know pretty much all of the factories, like in the Philippines and all that down in there, they have child labor. And I don't know. I mean, you can do all this stuff that they say here, but I'm gonna be honest with you. It's almost like they're just saying they're gonna talk about it. I think there's gonna have to be they're gonna have to be some real punishment, like 20, 30 years in prison for for child trafficking. Some of these countries, I think, like out overseas, Vietnam, and Thailand and places like that, they have what they call sex trafficking over there, where I think one of the networks, 2020 or something, did it where they put an undercover people over there and said they went in and said they wanted to get some children, for whatever, rent some children. So the minute the children were brought in, they basically rescued them with the help of the police over there. But they do have kids. I mean, I'm talking about little 4 and 5 year olds. It just make you sick. I think they need to be put under the jail instead of just in the jail. One thing here that a program that they're doing over there too, sex trafficking in Portland, is the says here mixed heritage. Yeah, here it tells a percentage of them: Hispanic, Caucasian, and between 40-80%. Talks about sex trafficking in various years, from 2009 all the way up to 2013. Trafficker ID growth. The sample age of the victims, basically they're 15 and 17 are the number, the the number ones that they've actually be sex trafficked. Locations, major cities on the I-5 corridor that links Seattle, Washington, and the Southern California, as well as Canada to Mexico. Portland often serves as a pit stop for traffickers. The access transportation through an international airport that enhances Portland's high rates. Demographics, the high number of homeless youth on Portland streets and arguably leads to a higher rate of juvenile sex trafficking because homeless teens often experience increased vulnerabilities, both physical and psychological. Traffickers are more able to manipulate and coerce their population, according to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. That's exactly what we're talking about. 1 in 6 runaways in 2014 were victims of sexual exploitation. Culture, Portland has the highest number of strip clubs, something I did not know, per capita out of any city in America. Wow. Uh, while not only all strip clubs uh, perpetuate sex trafficking, some do act as fronts for illegal activity. Moreover, this acceptance of culture that so often infringe on exploitation can lead to uh, denial of the depths of the problem at hand. And you have, just like the girl said, they got her into that lifestyle, working in the strip club, making a lot of money, and they can easy to get disillusioned by that. Very, very easy to get disillusioned. And let's see. Also, there's something else I want to bring up in just a minute, just right after this. Um, Labor trafficking, we talked about that a few minutes ago. Solutions in Portland. Um, Unfortunately, labor and sex trafficking both exist in Portland, but there is countless initiatives in place to curb these injustices. Currently, there are several services in the city that provide the victims. For example, Janus Youth Program provides shelter beds for trafficked youth, partnership with Sexual Assault Resource Center, the international and local organization Compassion First offers care for victims of sex trafficking in conjunction with law enforcement role. And in the solution, police are now able to seize items such as cars, cell phones, cash, computers from the suspected traffickers and Johns. And we always worked a lot with the arresting a lot of the Johns are people that call for this thing, trade, hopefully publishing their pictures in the paper and getting exposure for them so that they don't want to come to a city and do this. They don't want to come to a city and participate in this trafficking because they're afraid to get their picture on the front page of the paper. One other I wanted to talk about here. We have a sailing vessel, and then I'm going to get off because our other program starts in about 8 minutes. A sailing vessel missing off the coast of Mexico around Southern California. These here, the white-haired man with sunglasses, he's got 50 years experience. The two young couple there are highly trained and educated Coast Guard captains, and they disappeared on their boat off the Mexican coast on their way to San Diego, and they have not been seen since March the 4th. So Navy's looking for them, Mexican Navy, nothing. Their EPIRB, their rescue EPIRB never went off. I kind of think it's something more than rough weather that got them, but they are looking for them now. And I just don't believe that boat is sink. I believe it will capsize, but I believe it will not sink. Okay, so hang around here. We're going to start our other program in about 8-9 minutes. And we sure would appreciate you coming and watching the Thomas and Tony live stream. We're going to talk about UFOs tonight. And if you're not a subscriber, subscribe to this channel and that other channel and our YouTube channel on the travel channel, the 1 Million Mile Road Trip. We sure appreciate it if you subscribe. Videos are shorts. We need about 2,000, 2,500 hours of watch time over there to get monetized, and we just having a tough time, a real tough time getting it. So I sure would appreciate it. And we thank you for coming tonight. Stand by for our next show with Thomas and Tony live. Y'all have a good night.